Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 25 tips and tricks video. Today we're going to be talking about carrots, parsnips, and red beets, and we're going to categorize all of those as root crop vegetables. Now we're doing a single video for all three of these crops because they share several commonalities. In fact, we're going to be preparing the field the same, we're going to be planting them with the same planter, and ultimately we're going to be harvesting them with the same set of harvesters, with one exception, and that is red beets are going to allow us to upsize our harvesting equipment quite a bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the Farm Sim manual has to say about these three crops. Now, we're not looking at the Farm Sim Academy pages like we have with our previous crops because the Farm Sim manual is now out. It does have new information that is specific to Farm Sim 25 and therefore is more relevant to us for these videos. One thing that has changed is that the yields per hectare for this information have already been adjusted for the 100% yield bonus. So when it says carrots have an average yield of 154,000 liters per hectare, that is assuming a 100% yield bonus on your field. If you have less than that, well, then you can expect to get a little bit less of a harvest. The average selling price of $395 is going to be based on 1,000 liters worth of crop on easy economy. We can expect to use 10 liters of seed per hectare for carrots. We're going to be able to plant anytime between April and July, and as such, we can expect to harvest anytime between August and November. Parsnips, we're going to see a little bit lower yield of 139,000 liters per hectare. Again, that is based on 100% yield bonus. We're going to see an average selling price a little bit lower of $392 per 1,000 liters, again on easy economy. Once again, 10 liters of seed per hectare. Average planting is April through June this time, and harvest is August through November. With respect to red beets, we're going to see a little bit reduced yield again, 115,600 liters. An average selling price reduced again, $366 per 1,000 liters, again on easy economy. A bit more seed per hectare at 40 liters, and we're going to be able to plant April through June, and we're going to be able to harvest August through November. Now let's go and take a look in the shop at some of the machinery that we're going to have to use for our root vegetables. Here under the shop, under vehicles, we're going to go to our vegetable planters. And from here we have the GF 400 and the GF 800. These are going to be used to prepare our field for planting. Now this is going to be an optional step, but this optional step will give us a fertilization bonus. So for this particular field, we're going to be using the GF 800. It is going to be 6 meter working width. It's going to require a 270 horsepower tractor, and it's going to have 7 mile per hour working speed. And what this is going to do is it's going to ridge our field, and overall our field's going to look very, very similar to what it looks like after you've planted potatoes. And then we're going to come through with some specialty planters and plant directly into those ridges. Now, this is, as I said, an optional step. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but we will be getting a free fertilization layer as a result of doing this particular step. Once we have ridged our field, we're going to come in with the Nova Air Nova Fold, or the Mini Air Nova Fold, and this is a 6 meter planter. It's going to hold 32 liters worth of seed, and it's going to require 70 horsepower and has a 6 meter working width. And this is what we're going to use to actually plant our carrots, red beets, and parsnips. In fact, we can see we can also use it to plant spinach if we want to, which is kind of an interesting addition. And then once we do that, well, we're going to care for the field as we would with any other crop. If we need to weed it, we're going to use a weeder, or we're going to use herbicide sprayer. If we need to fertilize it again, we're going to do regular fertilizer, either by spreading it or spraying it. And then when it comes time to harvest, well, we're going to have some very specialty harvest machinery as well. We have 4 options here from DeWolf, And if you did get the FS22 premium expansion, you might be familiar with all of this machinery. My personal favorite harvester from that pack is not included here. And quite frankly, I'm a little disappointed in that. And I would really like to see it show up either in a community update or a content update or come out as a mod. And that is one that used crates, but it had the ability to hold 3 crates at a time. Speaking of crates, we're going to talk about the P3CL Profi harvester. It's the cheapest one here. And quite frankly, of these small harvesters, this is the one I would prefer to use. It's only going to require 80 horsepower. It's going to directly attach to the tractor right here. And we're going to have our harvest pickup head right here, or a pickup attachment right here along the side. Now, a lot of these harvesters are single row harvesters, which means you're going to be harvesting 1 row at a time. So yes, harvesting these root crops are an exercise in patience. Now, the way this works is this will collect the crops, put them on a conveyor belt, and deposit them into a crate. When the crate is empty, it will drop the crate onto the ground. And at that point in time, you'll load up another crate, either by bringing it to you, or you can just purchase a crate in the field. Just like you would purchase your baling materials, like your net wrap, your twine, and things like that directly in the field, or you could bring them on pallets. We have the PK, or the P3K Profi. Now, this one is going to be a pain in the tail with respect to single player. So you might want to reserve this for if you're doing a multiplayer session. This is very similar to the one we looked at, whereas it directly attaches to the tractor here. Has a single row pickup, but this time, instead of depositing the carrots, parsnips, or red beets into a crate, it's going to put them on this conveyor belt, and it's going to want to directly offload those into a trailer that's running alongside. So therefore, you're going to have to either hire a helper for the harvester and drive the trailer, overloading from the harvester, or have a friend on the server in order to do that for you. The GBC is another one that you could use fairly easily in single player. Once again, is a single row pickup, but this one does have a small storage capacity of 5,500 liters. Now, we have seen that these crops have some pretty high yield information. So we're going to be unloading this thing quite frequently, but at least we can run this in single player and not have to worry about trying to run alongside the hired helper, especially when the hired helper is trying to make some turns. So ideally for all of these, you're going to want very straight fields that are long, and therefore you're going to be minimizing your turns. It's going to take 100 horsepower to operate and has a working speed of 6 miles per hour. Now you may say to yourself, well, this one looks like the harvester choice. It can harvest 4 times as fast because it has a 4-row pickup. You might think that, sure, until you realize that this has no storage capacity as well. So once again, you're going to be hiring a helper on this thing, and you're going to be running a trailer beside it, constantly offloading your crop. And in single player, that's going to prove to be pretty much difficult, near impossible, I would say, on any field that doesn't have a whole lot of space around it. In multiplayer, that can probably be worked out because you can work with someone else driving the harvester, someone else running the trailer, and basically then being able to coordinate your movements a whole lot better. All of those are going to work with respect to carrots and parsnips and red beets. But if you put red beets in the ground, well, you're going to have some other options. And that is because with FarmSim 25's 1.3 update, Giants allowed for your sugar beet harvesters to also harvest red beets. Isn't that nice of them? Because, well, beets are beets, right? Now, I don't know why we can't just have these harvesters also dig up our carrots and parsnips. I mean, they're all root crops. They're all on the ground. But at any rate, we're making a little bit of headroom here, so we can use the 2720 harvester scrub, the Light Trax, the Terrados 540, or the Tiger 6S to harvest both our sugar beets and our red beets. And that, well, that's going to get the job done a whole lot faster because, well, these have a whole lot wider working width than just 4 rows for the self-propelled one or a single row for the trailed ones. For this particular video, we're going to use the Terados 5-40 harvester. And look, it holds a whopping 45,000 liters worth of product. Okay, it is quite expensive though at $685,000, so it is a pretty good investment. But you know what? If you're going to go down the beet road, then you're probably also going to have sugar beets, and it's probably going to be worthwhile in the end. Now, these harvesters will require headers, specifically the Terados and the 6S from Ropa. So here we have the HR6 for the Terados and the RRXL 945 for the Tiger 6S. And then for this header, for the Ropa, we do also have a header trailer. Let's jump back here to the shop real quick because let's talk about our crates. Right, we got the one harvester that will require crates. We can buy those crates here, $130 a piece. They're going to hold 2,000 liters, or we could buy them directly from the field. Now, we'll have to see post-harvest if we get credit when we sell crop in a crate. In FS22's Premium Edition, we got our money back. So we didn't necessarily lose money by buying a crate for 130 bucks. And then, well, we sell 2,000 liters of carrots for like, what, 600 bucks? But we only get 600 some bucks. And therefore, now we're losing money because we lost money on our crate. In FS22, we got our money back for our crate. Think of them as kind of usable. We're paying a deposit to make use of it. Once we return our crop in a crate, well, then we get our deposit back. We'll have to see if that's how it really works in FS25, but that is how it worked with respect to FS22's Premium Edition. With all that said, and that was a whole lot of saying, what can we do with our carrots, red beets, and parsnips? Well, in FS22, Giants added carrots, red beets, and parsnips to some of our animals, but that does not appear to be the case with respect to FS25. Let's take a look here at the manual, and I'll show you what I mean. So we've already done videos of all of the animals, and we've already talked about the food sources for these animals. So, but let's take a look here at the FS25 manual, and this can be downloaded from the Giants Farm Sim website, and I'll show you how to get that here in a little bit. But at any rate, our animal husbandry: chickens, wheat, barley, sorghum, and we're going to get eggs. Horses, hay, oats, sorghum, and we're going to get trained horses in the end. Horses, in my opinion, aren't worthwhile, but that's here for a different video. Now, in FS22, after the premium expansion, red beets, carrots, and parsnips were added as a food source for horses, but they don't appear to be here in FS25. Sheep, grass, and hay, right? Cows, grass, hay, silage, total mixed rations. Water buffalo, grass, hay, silage, total mixed rations. Goats, grass, and hay. Pigs had options for their root crops. We would be able to do potatoes, sugar beets, carrot, parsnips, or red beets. But notice, potatoes and sugar beets are only listed here for our pigs with respect to Farm Sim 25. So, if this is indeed the case, that this is indeed where our food are, and I would expect it would be because it is the Farm Sim 25 manual, then I do feel that it is a little bit disappointing that we can't actually use these new crops for actual food sources. Now let me show you where you can actually go and download this manual. So you're going to find the manuals here on the Farm Sim website. We're going to go to Support, Manuals, and then Farm Sim 25. Then we can click on Base Game, and then we can download the English manual. As time goes by, we should be able to also download different languages by just picking it there. Or if you have maybe a different version of the game, and for some reason you're watching a Farm Sim 25 video, where you say go here to FS22 and pick the edition that you want to download, and then download the manual from there. We've got Xbox, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC. But it seems like with respect to Farm Sim 25, they've combined all those into a single manual. Now let's jump into the menu and just kind of confirm this information, right? We have our crop counter. So here we have our carrots April through July, August through November. We have our parsnips April to June, August through November. And then we have our red beets April to June, August to November. We come here to our prices screen and we're going to find our carrots. So we have an average high of $450 per 1,000 liters, an average low of $357. That's what we're seeing here today. We're going to be able to sell that at the canning factory. Now, we are here on Riverbend Springs, so depending on the map that you're playing on, the various sell points may differ a little bit. But here, again, on Riverbend Springs, we have the canning factory as an option. We have the farmer's market. We have the Goldcrest Valley train sell point. Grain barge terminal 1 and 2, the grain river silo. And now I've placed the preserved food factory and the soup factory here because those are productions that will accept these crops as well. With respect to our parsnips, well, we have an average high on easy of $441 per 1,000 liters, an average low of $354. And again, we're looking at the same general sell points that we had with respect to carrots. Take a look here at our red beets. We have an average high of $417, again, per 1,000 liters on easy economy, an average low of $330, again, on easy economy, and the same general sell points that we're going to see for our other crops. Now, as far as productions go, well, we do have some options. We have carrot soup, and that's going to have an average high of $2,670 per 1,000 liters. You may say to yourself, wow, that's a lot. Well, it is, but let's wait till we go and take a look at our production because I think you're going to see it's going to take a whole lot of carrots to get a whole little bit of soup. Now, we're going to have an average low of 2,628. So overall, the range here is very, very narrow. And I kind of find it funny that the low point is August and the high point is September. Any rate, we can sell it at the farmer's market, the Goldcrest Valley train sell point, the restaurant, the small farmer's kiosk outside the main farm, and we could purchase soup, don't do it, at the warehouse. Now we can also buy ourselves some parsnip soup. Oh, where is that at? Right here. Again, we're going to have 2,658 as the average high per 1,000 liters. 2,601 is the average low. Same general sell points as well. We're going to have our red beet soup. 2,574 as an high. 2,499 as a low. Same general sell points as our other soups. Then we also have preserved food, beetroot. $1,695 on an average high. $1,665, the average low. Same general sell points that are going to accept our soups. And we have our preserved carrots. $1,758, average high again for 1,000 liters on easy economy. And $1,722 for the average low. And preserved parsnips, $1,743, the average high. $1,713, the average low. The same general sell points. Now let's take a look at our productions. With respect to our preserved food factory, this is where we're going to get our preserved beetroot, carrots, and parsnips. Well, let's take a look here. We're going to have 45% return. 100 parsnips go in, 45 parsnips go out. So that's not necessarily the best return on investment here. Our carrots, same 45%. And our beetroot, again, 45%. So 100,000 liters of beetroot go in and 45,000 liters of preserved beetroot come out. So you're going to have to factor that into your economy there with respect to is it worth it? And we'll run some numbers toward the end of this video. With respect to our soup factory, well, we have carrot, parsnip, and red beet soup. And carrot soup, 300 carrots come in, 75 carrots come out. An even worse ratio, 25%. So 300,000 liters of carrots go in, 75,000 liters worth of carrots come out as soup. Not the best ratio. Parsnip soup, 300 is the same 25%. Red beet soup, the same 25%. So, are these prices 4 times higher for our soups than our raw crop? Is it going to be worth it once you factor in the price to purchase these factories? We'll figure it out toward the end of what we ultimately would get with respect to almost 1 hectare's worth of crop running through our preserved food factory and running through our soup factory, which is located right there. Now we're going to find these factories under build mode, and we're going to come here to factories, and we'll scroll down here to our preserved food factory, $330,000, and then our soup factory is $405,000, so even more expensive than our preserved foods. All right. With that said, let's talk about field prep. So we've already gone in and we've already plowed a field if the field needs plowing. We've cultivated the field. We've put lime on the field if it needed liming. And in this case, we've actually already put a level of fertilization on our field. So I'm going to come over here to our ridger I've already purchased. This thing is fairly heavy, so definitely have a front weight on your tractor. We're going to come over to our field. And we're going to drop it down. We're going to turn it on with B. Just to help myself out, we're going to go with steering assist. Lock it in and off we go. And as you have maybe seen in our potato video, we are now ridging our field. And the resulting texture looks very, very similar to what we would see after we planted our potatoes. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish ridging this field, and then we'll come back and talk about planting. Now that we have completely ridged the field, well, now it's ready to start talking about planting. So, as I mentioned, we're going to use our Mini Air Nova Fold planter, which we have right here, and our smaller Dutzfar 6 series. Now, this planter will use traditional seed, the good old Farm Sim Magic seed. And you can find that seed if we come here into our shop. If we come down here to objects, well, we're going to find our big bags. We have a seed big bag, $1,260 per 1,000 liters. We can buy a pallet big bag, $1,260 for 1,000 liters. Or we can buy a pallet of bags, $1,050 for $1,260. We can also find it up here under seeding, and then under the seeds category. Since this thing only holds 32 liters worth of seed, well, that didn't take too terrible long. We want to make sure that it's set to carrots. That's what we're going to start out with. But of course, if you wanted to, you could hit Y, change that to parsnips, red beets, or spinach. We're going to hit X to unfold. And at this point, we are going to lock this in. We use our steering assist once again just to make this a lot easier. Lower it down, turn it on, and off to the races we go. Now, we don't have to, again, seed this way. We could just seed using this seeder on a regularly cultivated field without the ridges. But in theory, we would get a a fertilization bonus. So we're supposed to get a fertilization bonus. Now you may look at your info screen right here and you can see 50% fertilized. Where's my bonus? Well, there is a bug right now with version 1.3 of Farming Simulator 25, which is not giving us this bonus. I have filed a bug report after talking with Giants about this, and we'll hopefully see this get fixed in an upcoming update. Now, at the time this video is being recorded, 1.3 is the current release. I'm saying this because I'm recording this video on December 11th. Okay? By the time this video releases, which this video is scheduled to release like December 17th, 16th time frame, okay, about a week from now, that update may have just dropped, or it may have dropped recently. So again, this may be old information by the time that update drops. But just in case, I just want to mention that with respect to the 1.3 version of the game, there does appear to be a bug in the fact that we are not getting our fertilization bonus when we plant our crops into a ridged field. Now, I also wanted to mention that in FS22's premium expansion, when red beets, carrots, and parsnips were added, we also saw this fertilization bonus on potatoes. Off camera, I did try this with the potatoes and I didn't see the bonus. At the time, I just assumed that potatoes were no longer included with this bonus. But I know that this bonus is supposed to be here. Or at least they haven't fixed the help text. Because if we come here to our root vegetables, well, we can see that it states that if we ridge, we get adds fertilizer stage. Okay, so the help text states we should get a fertilizing stage from ridging, but we're not. So either the help text is wrong or the game is not functioning as intended. So I did put in a bug report, so we'll just see how things progress from there. I'm going to go ahead and finish planting this field in carrots. I'll come back, we'll report on our actual seed usage, and then we'll go ahead and advance into May and see what our initial growth state is going to look like. So after planting the entire field, which we now know is 0.96 hectares, we've used 22.3 liters worth of seed. So that's 9.7 liters worth of seed. The infographic from the manual said it was going to use 10. So I'd say that that's pretty much right in line. Let's go ahead and move on into May. But before I do that, I am going to go ahead and basically give this a coat of fertilizer. And I'm going to run a weeder through here, or I'm going to more or less spray herbicide on here just to go ahead and take care of the weeds. But again, we are supposed to be seeing a fertilizer bonus from ridging, but that is apparently not happening with the 1.3 update. And hopefully that will be fixed soon. And if it is, I'll go ahead and post a community post as to when that happens. Here we have our first growth state in May. You can see we have now got this field up to 100% yield bonus. Let's go ahead and move forward into the next months and see what it takes to get to our next growth state. Here we have our second growth state in June. Our third growth state in July. And now we've made it into August. We are ready to harvest. So for this, we're going to demonstrate two of these harvesters. And that is the one that is going to require pallets or crates. And then the other one that is going to basically offload after it is full. So we're going to back up to our harvester. And as I mentioned, this is going to attach directly to the back of the tractor And then we have our pickup here to the side. We're going to unfold it. And then we are going to buy new boxes with comma. Do we want to buy a new box for $130? Yes. There we go. 130 bucks. We have our new box. I'm going to come over here and line up. We're going to lower the pickup. We're going to turn everything on. And let's just see how hired help works with this. Or, yeah, just standard. Yeah, sure. Let's hire helper and see what happens. Where are you going? Oh, I guess you want to work that way. Alright, fine. Alright, so now I loaded this tractor up with narrows. Okay? So really neat animations. You can see the carrots going up here. They're being, well, dirt's being knocked off them as they're coming up here through the various brushes. They're being, the tops are being cut off of them, and then the carrots themselves are falling onto the conveyor belt and then into this crate. So we've pretty much answered the question. Will hired helpers work with these harvesters? Yes, they will. Will they do the job as fast as possible? No, they won't. So for that, we're going to basically do this manually. Once again, let's go steering assist. 6 headlands. Sure, whatever. And then we're going to drop it down, turn it on, and off we go. It's probably not picked it up because we're not on the field, technically. Now you may be inclined to want to maneuver this over a little bit and you think you're picking up 2 rows at a time. You're not. So don't do that. You are basically losing product at that point because you're going to have to run back over that area. Alright, so here we go. So we filled our crate. We're going to unload by hitting Z. And we're going to drive forward. And then we're going to buy a new box. Yes. And, well, there we go. We had a little left in our harvester. And we're just going to drive forward and continue doing the job. And if we were going to use this harvester to do this entire field, we would simply repeat this process time after time after time as we filled up each crate. Okay? Now you can see why I really liked the one that didn't come over to Farm Sim 25, because the one I really liked had 3 crates, and basically you would fill up 3 crates, 6,000 liters worth of product, and then after you did that you could unload all 3, and then you could buy 3 crates at a time and just basically repeat the process. And then when it comes time to pick these crates up, which you can use a skid steer for, you can use a front loader, or there's a really neat attachment for your rear 3-point. And let's go ahead and get to the end of this field and I'll show that to you. So if we come back to our shop, we come down here to miscellaneous. We have the WIFO Simply Strong, and this is a 3-point hitch that basically converts any tractor into a forklift. So we have our vertical up and down, our long vertical up and down like you would with a forklift. You've got your pallet forks, and it just attaches to the 3-point. It can be the rear 3-point or the front 3-point of any tractor. It's a really, really cool custom attachment. So we're going to turn this thing off, and we're going to take this back, and we're going to now pick up our other harvester, and that's what I'm going to use to finish this field out. And yes, it's going to take quite a long time. And thankfully, you're not going to have to be here to directly witness the entirety of that time. So we're going to hit Z to unload. Drive forward. I'm going to hit, yeah, give me another one just to make sure. Okay. I want to make sure we didn't have any product still in our harvester. It's very important that you drive forward with this particular harvester before you go and buy a new crate. Because if you don't, well, there's going to be a collision on the crates, and, well, you know, might never see your loaded crate of carrots anymore. So with this one, we're going to hit X to unfold. It is trailed once again. We'll lower it down. We're going to turn it on. And off to the races we go. This one's going to work very, very similar to the other one. In fact, it's going to, you know, collect the product. Let's knock the carrots out of the way. And that's just the process. And I'll bring you back once this fills up. Obviously, it won't take too terrible long. So once this is full, we're going to hit O to pipe out, if you will. And clearly we can't harvest like this, right? So we can't really harvest and overload at the same time with this particular piece of machinery. And man, oh man, it would be nice if I could use this. Now, let's talk about mods, okay? Yes, there are going to be mods. There probably are mods now that will permit the harvesting of carrots and parsnips using something like the Pterodos, using a specific carrot or parsnip header. And yes, while I may be very tempted to use that machinery in this type of a video simply for its time savings, I feel very, very strongly in demonstrating how things work within the base game. And as such, using such a mod would kind of remove that function or that aspect. So to that end, we are going to harvest this entire field using base game machinery. You, of course, feel free to use whatever mods, whatever machinery you want to use for this harvester. But again, I feel very strong that in order to truly understand how the game functions, we're going to hit O here. You need to first understand how the game works with its base functionality. Then you can add all the mods and all the game enhancements you want, because you already know how the game works base. Therefore, you know exactly how the game is being modified when you add those modifications. Now remember where I said don't try to pick up 2 rows at a time? You see how we're still picking up carrots? Well, that's because while visually the carrots aren't there, there's a phantom row, if you will, of carrots. So if you think you've picked up 2 rows of carrots at a time, and then you skip over that, you're actually, like I said, shorting yourself by leaving carrots in the field. So now that you've seen how both of these harvesters work, how both of them unload, well, now is the time-consuming task of actually harvesting this field to its entirety and documenting for you all the actual yield that I did indeed get. So to that end, I'll see you all in just a few moments, but for me, it's going to feel like a lifetime. So I wanted to bring you in real quick. I've got a bit of this field obviously harvested already, and you can see now we are getting our steering assist guidance lines popped in. You know, the reason they weren't popping in earlier is because since this thing is offset, we were driving off the field as we were getting our first few rows done. So once I got the tractor right there on the fringe of the field, then bam, these lines started showing up. So that was really convenient. Now, on the other side of the field, I tried to basically chip away. I tried to go up the field kind of and just work a little section at a time, clear a little section of the field, and then basically move over some more. And I tried that, and well, I had some interesting results. So I just wanted to share those results with you because I would suspect if I wanted to do it, then probably someone else would as well. And that was that the way this harvester is working, it's expecting you to go up one side of the field and come back the other. Well, if you are going up and back on the same side of the field, well, as you can see here, that offset is wrong, right? I want to go down the line here, blue, white, blue, right? But it wants to put my tractor on this yellow line, green line, whatever. You know what line I'm talking about. That's clearly not the direction that I want to be going in order to hit this particular row. So just kind of be cognizant of, that's a big word, just kind of be cognizant of the potential that if you're going up one side of the field and coming back down that same side of the field, based on, again, the middle, then your GPS lines might not necessarily line up because of the fact that this tractor and harvester combo is offset. Just a little bit of a word of warning. And with that, well, we've almost completely filled up our first trailer. So let me get back to my my existence, and we'll see how long this really takes. The harvest is finally done. Now, I've been running at half speed, so we started this around 11:30 a.m. It's now 1 o'clock, so that's been an hour and a half. 3 hours to harvest that field. 3 hours. What do we get for our efforts? Well, we have 5 trailers full of 28,000 liters of carrots. I've got 2 pallets, 2,000 liters apiece, and I have 4,121 liters in the harvester. That comes up to 148,121 liters worth of carrots. So quite a nice little haul. Now let's take a look and try to break down some things. Carrots, we have an average high of $450 per 1,000 liters. So if we take our 148.121 times 450, we get $66,654 off of our 1 hectare field of carrots. Great. Now, let's talk about what happens if maybe, well, we do a little bit of carrot soup making. Remember, our carrot soup is 25%. Okay, so we're going to get 25% back from what we put in it. So if we put in 148,121 liters times 0.25, we're going to get 37,000 liters worth of carrot soup. So 37,000 liters of carrot soup times 2677, that is going to be a profit of $99,129. Now let's take a look at our preserved carrots. And remember, from our factory, preserved carrots, well, they're going to give us a yield of 45%. Right, so back here we have our preserved carrots, and we're going to take 121 times 0.45. So we're going to get 66,664 liters worth of preserved carrots, and we're going to multiply that out by 175, $1,758. We're going to get a total of $117,178 for preserved carrots. Now, was that worth the 3 hours to harvest? Well, I'll leave that up to you. Now, what we're going to do is reset all of this, and we're going to plant parsnips in the field, and then we're going to harvest parsnips, and I'll bring it back right here, and we'll basically compare our parsnip yield and what we got from our parsnip soup and our preserved parsnips. We don't need to show you planting it because it's the same as it is with carrots. We don't really need to talk about how we do fertilizer and herbicide and all that because, again, it's the same as carrots. And I don't really need to demonstrate harvesting because, again, it's the same as carrots. So with respect to parsnips, we've gone and planted our test field again. We have 22.3 liters worth of seed left. Remember, this thing holds 32 liters of seed, and the infographic said we would use 10 liters of seed. So we've used 9.7 liters worth of seed in order to put down our field of 0.96 hectares. Now, in addition, if you recall, when I was doing our carrots earlier in the video, I mentioned that I was using version 1.3 of the game, that there was an update that was pending. Well, as irony would have it, we are now working with 1.4 of the game. So that update has already launched. That came out today. This video is going to take multiple days to record, simply due to the time involved. And you can see it's still not updated. So as of 1.4, you do not get the fertilized bonus with ridged soil. It is, as far as I know, a bug, and a bug report was put in just the other day. So that is the other day as of the time I am recording this, not necessarily as of the other day, the time that you are watching this. So that's important to understand. There is a bit of a delay from when this was recorded to when it is going to get released. But at any rate, to that end, I'm going to go ahead and fertilize this field and put some weed killer on this field to take care of any weeds. And then I'll meet you back after the first stage growth. So here we are in May. We have our first growth stage of parsnips. Growth stage number 2 for our parsnips. And growth state number 3. So one more month, and then our parsnips will be ready to harvest. All right, here we have it. It is August. Our fully ready to harvest parsnips looks a little bit different than our fully ready to harvest carrots. But overall, it's going to be the exact same machinery that we are going to be using to harvest these parsnips. And as such, since we demonstrated the use of this machinery in the carrot section of the video, we're just going to move directly over here and start working with this particular harvester because it has a storage capacity and is going to be far easier to do in single player. So I'll see y'all back here in a few hours for me, but just a few moments for you, and we'll talk about what we got as far as a harvest for our 0.96 hectare field, and then we'll do a little bit of math and run through basically what happens if we sell the crop, what happens if we produce parsnip soup or preserved parsnips, what type of revenue might we see from that, and then we'll spin it on to well, red beets. So, welcome back. We have now finished harvesting our parsnips. 134,142 liters is what we have here. So 4 full trailers, 1 nearly full trailer. And if we sold all of these parsnips directly at the best price listed here of $441 per 1,000 liters, well, we'd make a whopping $59,156. Now, for the time investment in harvesting, again, I've got to really question if it's worth it. Now, let's take a look once again back to our soup factory. Remember, with respect to our parsnip soup, we are only getting 25% yield. So if we dump 300 parsnips in, we're getting 75 units of parsnip soup out. So if we dumped all of our 134,142 liters worth of parsnips into our soup factory, we would get a whopping 33,500 and some odd units of parsnip soup out. So if we go and run that through with respect to our max listed high price on Easy Economy of $2,655, well, that's going to net us the profit of $89,030. A little bit of an uptick, $30,000 or so from selling our raw root crop. Now, if we take a look at our preserved parsnips, well, we've got a little better ratio there of 45%. So we're going to get 60,000 liters worth of preserved parsnips if we run it through this particular factory. And if we come back here and take a look at our preserved parsnip price of $1,749, well, we're going to come up with a net profit of $105,576, or should I say a net revenue, because we do have to also factor in the cost of these productions and, of course, the time in order to do all of this work. Now, we have one more root crop to take a look at today in this video, and that is red beets. And this is the one I've been looking forward to for probably about the last 5 hours, and that is to use the Terrados 6 as our red beet harvester. So we are going to once again reset this entire field and come back. We're going to plant our red beets. We don't need to demonstrate that because we're going to be using the same little planter we used for our carrots and our parsnips. We're going to be using our seed again as we used in those other crops. And I'll come back and I'll let you know how much seed we used. Remember, red beets are going to use more seed than parsnips and carrots combined. And then we will run through all the different growth stages and then run through the harvest and wrap it all up. So I had to fill our planter one time, and we now have 25.26 liters worth of seed left over from the second filling, and our planter holds 32 liters worth of seed overall. That means we used a total of 38.74 liters of seed for our approximately 1 hectare field. And that is very much in line with this infographic, which says we should be using 40 liters of seed per hectare. So everything overall seems to be in order there. Now I'm going to go ahead and fertilize this field because, again, we are experiencing that bug where ridged soil is not giving us that fertilizer bonus. And that is as of version 1.4 of the game. But it is supposed to do that according to the help documents, as I've already said earlier in this video. So expect that to be fixed at some point. So if you are playing with version 1.5 or greater, let's say, then that might be fixed for you. But I'm going to go ahead and fertilize. I'm going to go ahead and herbicide this field as well. That way we don't have any weed problems to worry about. And then we'll bring you all back after we have seen one state of growth. So here we have our first growth state of red beets in May. As you can see, we also have our field 100% fertilized and 100% yield bonus. Let's go ahead and continue to march on through the months and see the various growth states. Growth state 2 here in June. Our third growth state in July. And then next time we come back together, should be ready to harvest. Indeed, we are now at a ready to harvest state with respect to our red beets. And with this, I'm super excited because, of course, we could use the same harvesting equipment that we have with respect to our carrots and our parsnips. But, well, why not, if it's available to you, use something a little bit bigger, like the Homer Pterodos 5, because as I mentioned earlier on in the video, with version 1.3 of FarmSim 25, Giants introduced the ability for all beet harvesters to not only harvest sugar beet, but also harvest red beet. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to use our Pterodos 5 with our header, and we're going to go ahead and unfold this mammoth of a harvester and get to town harvesting our red beets. So this harvest won't take near as long as our carrot and parsnip harvest. So if you are going to be doing a root vegetable, well, this may be the root vegetable of choice, simply because we can use something a bit more large scale, a bit more time efficient, if you will. Lower it down, turn it on, and off to the races we go. So I'll come back with you once we are done our harvest, and we will talk about how much yield we got with respect to our red beets. We'll run through our rudimentary analysis with respect to profitability of selling our beets directly or selling them after running them through the soup factory or preserved food factory. And then we'll kind of maybe compare all three of these vegetables together. So I'll see y'all in a little bit. And we are done with our red beets. Now, if we take a look at the time elapsed, we started this around 11:30 in the morning in August. We're running at half speed, so basically almost an entire hour has passed in order to harvest this field with our Pterodos harvester. And I have to say, well, first off, as you can see, it needs plowing. So I don't remember if I've mentioned this already, and it's already been about 5 hours of recording over the course of 3 days, which has actually taken about a week in order to get to. But at any rate, if I've already mentioned it, then please forgive me. But at any rate, you will need to plow after you harvest carrots, parsnips, or red beets. So if you have plowing enabled, that will be something that will need to happen after every harvest of these root vegetables. Now, what did we get as far as our red beet yield? Well, it's the lowest yield yet, as we expected from the infographics, with 111,707 liters for our 0.96 hectare field. If we sold our red beets at the price listed here as the highest average price on Easy Economy of $417, that's going to be a net profit or revenue of $46,581. It's not worth it. It's the lowest across the entire board. If we went ahead and made this into our soup, remember, we're only going to get 25% of what we put into the soup factory out. So as a result, we're only going to get out 27,926 liters, just under 28 pallets worth of soup. Well, soup's 2,000 liters, so you half that, so just under 14 pallets of soup. If we sold that soup, we're going to get 71,883 liters. Sorry, dollars. So a little bit more profit, but not as profitable as our carrots or parsnips when it comes to soup production. Well, what about our beetroot? Well, it's 45% is what we see as far as our outputs to inputs with our preserved food factory and with respect to our preserved beetroot. So we're going to get 50,000 liters worth of product out. If we use our average high price of $16.95, that's going to come to a revenue of $84,701. The lowest revenue across all three root vegetables, but I would say it took a third the time to harvest. So maybe that matters to you because it took me about 3 hours to harvest both the parsnips and the carrots. Okay? But again, is it worth it in the end? For me, it's not. For you, it might be. I don't know. It all depends on your situation. But remember your preserved food factory, well, it's going to cost a pretty little penny. It's going to cost you $330,000 if I click on the right one. And our soup factory, well, it's going to cost even more at $405,000. But the money is in the preserved carrots, $117,178. If you remember, preserved parsnips, $105,576. Or not so much, our preserved beetroot, $84,701. Now, something else I don't know if I mentioned earlier, because again, the duration it took to get this particular video put together, you're not going to be able to store these things in a silo. That's why we don't have any silos here. Your carrots, parsnips, and red beets, if you want to store them, you're going to have to dump them on the ground. Now, of course, there may be multi-fruit mods out there that will allow you to dump them into a silo mod, but overall that isn't that necessarily realistic, and we're not super talking about mods here in these tips and tricks video. We do have the auger wagon. We didn't use it in our gameplay, but we do have this auger wagon available, and I'm pretty sure we covered all of the belts and other things with respect to handling our root crops earlier in the video. So, like to hear your thoughts down in the comments below with respect to your carrots, parsnips, and red beets. Are they going to be something that you are going to be looking into using on your farm? What do you think about the fact that they are not usable in any way with respect to animal food? Which as I said earlier, I feel is a pretty big shortcoming because, well, they were an animal food item in the premium expansion because they were added to pigs. They were added to horses, and, well, they may have also been added to... No, I don't think they were added to chickens. I don't know why I was thinking that. But at any rate, it would be nice to see those added back at some point in a future update. But again, as of version 1.4, we do not see them able to be used as animal feed. And other than running them through a couple different productions, that's kind of a... Are they really worth the effort? In my opinion, no, they're not. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And until next time, happy farming.